worked. It worked. It worked. It worked. Oh, I'm live. Okay. Hey there. I don't know if anyone's gonna get this notification, so I might not be here very long, but this is pretty cool. I got it to work from an Android device, which you usually have to have 1,000 subs. But for anyone who wants to know, because I wanted to know for the longest time, nobody would tell me how, you can go live without 1,000 subs with an Android device, but you have to choose webcam as your option instead of stream. And it works that way. And you have to do it from Chrome as your default browser. And then you can change it back to whatever you want once you're done, doing your live. So I just wanted to let you know, anyone else who didn't know, that's how you do that. So, okay, so it worked. I'm excited. I'm going to drink something real quick that's not healthy at all. So please don't do what I do. I am not a doctor. I'm not a physician. I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist. I'm an expert in nothing, no field, nada. I'm just a woman, a mother, well, sometimes wife, speaking on some topics that I have learned through experience and through life and some high strangeness the last few years. And through nobody really telling me truth, I don't think knowingly, I think it was through this remembering process that that little eternal bit that we all have of ourselves, that bit that goes on and on, that changes form, that energy. So let me go to the beginning real quick. We don't die, or rather death is not the end. It's not forever. It's not a forever state or period. State meaning or being a place of mind or existence, a temporal meaning temporary state of being. Okay. So it's not forever. It's not a permanent state of being. Death is not. And a lot of these things have come to me through a state of remembering through that eternal piece of my own self, and through a lot of ask and you shall receive. I've asked for a lot of this through prayer and through meditation, meditative states, not just like this woo-woo type of thing where I, empty my mind. It is through deep thought on one specific question or one topic. Okay, one word for hours on end, days on end, sometimes at a time, and spending extensive times and periods alone, just with me and my dogs or myself, and even just talking things through myself, to the air, to God, to whatever else is around me. And so this is my current understanding at this state and time. That might change. It should change through more understanding and more experience. If you don't understand these things yet, or you do understand them, you don't have to, stay or remain. If they don't ring true or resonate through that inner truth detector that you have within, that inner truth bell is not going off or ringing, then by all means, you're not ready for this yet. So our soul, right? In church, the spirit is spoken of, and they would have you just focus on spirit, as if body and material is not important, right? Even the earth not being important, and saying, well, it doesn't matter. God is going to make a new one, and he's going to give you a new body. And so these things are not to be focused on. You are to have the spirit being refined. And the worldly elements and the secular elements of this world would have you focus on just the material, right? Well, exercise, work out, eat right, focus on your health. Ha ha ha, to spirit. What do you mean spirit? I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy, you're mental, You need to see a doctor, focus on the science, follow science, on evidence and proof, and then things you can see, taste, smell, hear, and forget the spirit. Well, I'm here to tell you this is why the triangle is so important. And a lot of people will say, don't be flashing those symbols at me. Again, that's another state of being of fear. That is fear mongering. That is a lower state of being when they want you to focus on symbols as being bad or negative or evil. Let's let go of those things, even if just for a few minutes while you watch this video. Okay. Symbols mean different things to different people. The triangle itself has 3 angles for a reason. The regular triangle is a masculine symbol for the male. An upside down triangle is feminine. The chalice, the holy grail, for the female. The cup, the V, right? That is the female. They each have 3 corners for a reason: body, spirit, and mind. Those are 3 things. Those 3 things make up you. So the body is an important element of that. And so is the spirit. The soul, and I might have got that mixed up. The mind, the spirit, and the body. The soul is all 3 of those things together. And I know you're going to say, well, Jen, the spirit and soul are the same thing. They're not. They're not, though. And you can disagree with me, and that's fine. No, let's talk about it. Let's not degrade each other. Let's not lower ourselves to being immature like children on a school ground and start calling me names or trolling me. Let's talk it out. Why do you think I'm wrong? Point me in the direction of more information, please, because at this point, I'm haggard, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I have been through a lot to bring this information out and to you. I have sought. I have done exactly what ancient scripture tells us. Seek and ye shall find, ask and ye shall receive. And I've done all of that. And I've done it at great cost to the self, myself, and my family in a way. But I'm not going to bring names into this because I do have that sense of loyalty, right? But on the other end of that, at the same time, not one person has loved me enough to tell me these truths openly, and I don't understand why. I'm going to tell you something else. If you look through history and you look at the martyrs, there's a reason it's all usually they lose their heads. And look at even Egyptology. And again, you're going to go to church and they will tell you that that is bad or evil, that Babylonianism is separate from Christianity. Christ's father, Joseph, they were in Egypt. They ran from Herod, but they took that culture with them. Joseph grew up and was favored by the pharaohs. They took these books and these faiths. I don't want to say religion because religion is man-made, but they took these ancient ways and they separated all of them. We need all of them, and to bring them together and make the whole picture. They divided it all. They divided the people. They divided the knowledge, and they've made us in darkness and ignorance. And I thank God that I've taken, my spirit, my soul started remembering certain things. But I think this is why I had the head injury I was given in 2019, was because I've started remembering these things again. And every time I start to come into remembering, something happens to me. I am traumatized. This is a trend and a pattern in my life, and I go through this at great cost to bring this to people. And I don't care about that. That doesn't matter. I'm telling you, see the patterns around you in your own life. What is happening to you? They re-traumatize us for a reason. The same people are in control, the same bloodlines and families for a reason. And I'm going to switch gears for a second. And again, I've studied across the board because I've looked for patterns in all these different systems, faith systems, belief systems. John Dee talked to he was the one who brought Enochian systems and languages to us, the Enochian alphabet. He talked to angels. And then it got weird. Things got strange. But I want to tell you a bit of why certain things are done. He brought us the Enochian language through communicating with angels. I'm not going to say whether that was right or wrong. I don't want to do that. Okay. I just want you to hear this information. You decide what's right or wrong. I can't do that for you. But I want you to start to see the patterns for yourselves. And I want to bring us out of darkness and out of ignorance so that we are empowered with knowledge. We need to stop repeating these same patterns so that we can spiritually evolve. They play games with us like tricksters, right? You know what a trickster spirit is. It's not funny for us, though, the ones who are at the other end of this. And I do believe that, like, we each have a soulmate. We each have that other one that completes us, and like that we're supposed to go through this with, right? And refining each other and honing each other. And I think we keep being separated purposely so that that doesn't happen. And it's painful. I'm in pain because that keeps happening. And I know I can feel that others are too. And it's a shame. But I want you to understand, death is not a permanent state of being. It is but a shadow. It is but an illusion. And reincarnation is but one spoke in the wheel. Elijah's wheel in the sky, that is a metaphor for so much else that's happening here, right? And the sad thing is that we have to understand that people lie. We tell stories, for one part, because this place could get boring without some entertainment, I suppose. It's like Plato's cave. A lot of this is illusion and deception, and that's a good thing. A lot of the things that we fear aren't even, they're shadow puppets, and death is one of those. It's a shadow puppet. The bad thing is that some of us, when we go through it, we come back with this amnesia, and it's preventing us from having this growth that we are supposed to be having. And that is the shame in all of this. Okay, so our bodies, our spirits, and our mind are what make up that soul. That is the inner trinity, the triune. That is what makes us little gods. Okay, you've heard the saying that God is triune or is sovereign. We are sovereign. When Christ said you are little gods, that's what he meant. We are sovereign in the way that we make our own choices for ourselves. Government is mind control. When have you ever had a king or a queen come into your house, even a governor, come into your house and check to see if you're following every law or rule that is, out there in the public? Never. They don't do that, right? Nobody does a glove test in your home. People don't come in and barge in, and that doesn't happen. It is literal mind control. It is all behavior modification just to make sure it isn't pure chaos out there. Okay. It started becoming easier to recognize when you would watch the news and things and all of these tragedies that were happening. People started recovering way too quickly. The death scenes started looking really shady and suspect. Celebrities were recovering from accidents really quickly. And it looks like they're getting kind of tired of playing the game too, because, or at least the people who are filming these things, they're letting us in on the secrets now. Anne Heche was in a body bag on a gurney, and she sat up, and they showed us that on film. Why did they show us that? Because they're getting tired of covering for these people who are playing these games on the public. Do you see what I'm saying? They're showing us. We are being given these gifts. Hey guys, this isn't real. None of this is real. It's all illusion. but it's preventing us from having this spiritual growth that we're supposed to be having while we're here, this growth process. And that part should be exciting to us. That part should be the awakening process, right? But you have to see this is happening everywhere. Like I said, that Anne Heche thing, stuff like that. Betty White dying more than once. Mandela coming back from the dead. But I've seen it with my own eyes with people I know. A couple of them have YouTube channels, and I'm like, but I know that person. That's why they're mad that I don't believe in clones. They want you to believe in this stuff because they want you to think it's somebody's double. No, it's not their double. It's that person. It's that person living another life, their next life with another family. Like, that's what's happening. And it's a shame. The shame in it is that most of us aren't in on this. And you know, some people are just getting tired of playing the game at this point. And I'm glad, we should be glad of it. We should be glad for that. You'll see most times when I am doing lives and stuff that I will have a physical dictionary with me. The best thing you can do for yourself is to pick up old books, because when they try to rewrite history or they try to make fabrications of things, they will change digital history anytime. Okay. This is why books are a good thing to have, because those can't be changed. They want you to believe that they can through like Mandela effects and stuff. But, this is why you maintain your scruples. And this is why you use reason and logic first and foremost all the time. All the time. And true science is something that can be observed and repeated. And if it can't be, then maybe you go to the supernatural. But even those things, there are processes that have to be undertaken. That's why these DNA tests and blood tests are huge, because I think for the reincarnation process, for it to take place willingly and knowingly, it has to be a person, a body of the same bloodline. And if anyone has any questions, the chat should be on, but I don't see anyone commenting, so that's all right. A couple people had asked me to do this, so I just wanted to see if I could get a live up and running with the phone, and I can, so that's fun. That's exciting. I want to see real quick if it's in here. Wedgie was the word I went to. That's so funny. But it's exhausting, and I'm exhausted, and something within our physical bodies. Jason Starr. Hi. Hello. Man, that name follows me. Something in the physical body does maintain your memory. And again, this is why, Horus. And Isis, I think it was Horus her husband? They dismembered him and cut off his head, and they took his head and they buried it somewhere separate from the rest of him. And she dug him up or whatever. Excuse me. Did this in vitro fertilization. They say that she had fornicated with his body, but I highly doubt that. I'm sure it was like in vitro fertilization. She did that whole process and gave birth to her own husband to reincarnate him. But he could not come to awareness because they could not find his head. Jen, I'm listening. It's good to see you live streaming again. Thank you. I didn't know I could do it without having the 1,000 subscribers. And then when I tried, it kept saying, you don't have the proper software. And I'm like, I was getting angry. I couldn't figure out, because I'm not like tech illiterate, and I couldn't figure out why it was telling me that. And here it was because my default browser wasn't Chrome, because I'm kind of, aside from YouTube, I'm anti-Googler. And I have to go in and I had to make Chrome my default browser. It was something simple and stupid. But yeah, yay. It's nice to see you, Crystal. Message retracted. Oh, I'm sorry to see that. Sometimes we regret things we say, but it's always good to just get it out, and that way you don't regret keeping it in. All right, I'm trying to see if I can find Reincarnation because this is at least, I think this book is 20 years old. And like I said, I don't always trust things I look up online because they can change that anytime they want. Reincarnation, rebirth of the soul in another body. So they do consider it to be coming forth in another physical being. That's, and again, words, that is the biggest way that people are deceived is through, you know, I could say something and you could say something. The word spirit. To me, it might mean my mind and my soul. And to you, it might mean just your mind, that voice that you talk with and quietly with inside your head. And, that's two different entirely meanings. So, and symbols mean, that spiral. To some people, it means, something bad like hypnotism. And to other people, like I said, to me, it's timeline. That's the symbol for quote unquote time. And, it's all in perspective. And it's unfortunate. You know, years ago, somebody had told me about child harmers. And they kept talking about it. And I said, it's real unfortunate that you think everybody is someone that would do that. I said, that's all you talk about. And they stopped doing it for about 20 years. And I was at a point where I was really like just downtrodden. And this was just a few years ago. And it brought me like really down, like vibrationally and in frequency. And again, this is why they do that. I think half, at least 50% of the bad fear-based things that we hear and see on the news and on the internet are lies. I don't think they happen. I think they are just to keep people controlled. At least 50% of them. 50% of the murders, 50% of the child harmings, 50% of the abuses, 50% of the arrests, 50% of the court cases that we see on television. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to talk about details of a case like in real law. And I know this because my mom had a lawyer on retainer for a long time with things. And I know this because of details of my own life. You're not allowed to talk about the details of a case while it's ongoing because it could corrupt the case, and then it could get thrown out or acquitted. It could change the whole outcome of a case. You're not allowed to talk about it in the public. So I'm pretty sure the court cases that we see on TV or online are fake. They're not real. None of them. None of them. They are just to sway public perception. I don't think any of them are real because again, you're not allowed to give out specifics of certain things until they are resolved issues. So if they are showing us court cases on television that are real, they have already happened. They are already done. They're at least a year old by the time we are seeing them. And people don't understand this. People believe anything. And that was my biggest, I guess, throughout this whole process, that was my biggest my biggest obstacle to overcome was getting out of my own way and recognizing, oh my gosh, I have been so gullible. Like, I am the most gullible person. I have believed everything everybody's told me. And my own family, like, that's why they all pranked me all the time. That's why they all did practical jokes on me all the time, is because, and that's why people always said to me, it's so fun though, Jen. It's so fun to make fun of you. Because I was the most gullible person out of the bunch. I believed everything everybody told me. And it's sad that people had fun with that. That people thought that was entertainment to them. I was a form of entertainment. That's why I was the laughing stock, is because I was so gullible. And that's wicked. Like to take advantage of somebody's naive spirit like that. That's just cruel. Yeah, absolutely it is. It's cruel. But you have to look in the mirror, and you have to be willing to you have to be willing to know that about yourself. And when someone tells you something, especially if it's something that makes you emotional, like human interest stories in the news, something that's like, ooh, makes you angry, right? Like something that really like gets your goat, like having to do with a child, especially. And again, they beta tested us all throughout the internet. They knew that anything having to do with children would make us emotionally charged. And when people are emotionally charged, they make mistakes. They make mistakes. And that's what they wanted with us. They want us brought to a point of violence. Because then that is us giving consent for them to hurt us. And trust me, like I said, death may not be permanent or real, but when a person is brought to that place, they can give up rights to their vessel. You can give up rights to your vessel. And if it's a younger vessel or an appealing vessel to someone, especially a being without a body, the wicked ones, they might want yours. They might covet yours for any purpose, for any reason. Like I said, that reincarnation and death, those are only two spokes to this wheel of life, right? There's so much more happening here. And nobody ever considers, like I said, to think they might just be lying. Like in school, when they taught us about the pyramids, no one, how do you, and the teachers would ask us all the time, what do you think happened? How do you think this went down? How do you think this happened? We never, ever thought to say, I think you're lying. I don't think they're out there. I think they're fake. I don't think they're there. I don't think they're there. I was watching somebody that was allegedly there. You're not allowed to film up to a certain point there. Look at some pictures of people over allegedly at the pyramids in quote unquote Egypt. Look at a bunch of them, as many as you can find online. See how many of them look the same, especially with CGI out there today and how many movies we've all seen. Why do you think there are certain types of movies not being seen right now, not being made? Too many people are catching on to green screens, all this stuff. Watch if something doesn't happen, that they do shut certain things down or off, because like I said, too many people have caught on to stuff. This is why they want to reset some people, because you can only go so far with this game, with technology. You can only go so far with it, and then you have to reset it all because people get too wise to things going on. And then either everyone gets bored, or everyone gets mad, or everyone gets violent, or you know what I mean? And something wants us to stay here being held back and doesn't want our spirits being evolved and refined and, this thing. And again, like I said, there is some reason Catholics, they don't have their bodies burned. They will not be cremated. There is a reason Christ was put in a tomb. His body was rubbed with oils. He was not buried in the ground. He was not put in the ground. There are reasons that for some reason people were buried alive, supposedly. There's a reason those stories are out there about vampires, people looking young, people seeing their relatives, walking around up and living. They're called vampires, all these stories made up. There's a reason these stories are out there. You have to look for the commonalities in these stories across the board. Vampires, buried alive stories. Like I said, this, and again, this might not be the best example, but the serial killer Ed Gein, why was he digging people up all the time at cemeteries? In the 1800s, why were so many people waking up and coming back from the dead and being buried alive? Why was that one saint buried alive? And then he rose back up and he begged, put me back in, put me back in. I don't want to be out here. Put me back in. He was at peace being under there, but he didn't die. What's going on here? What's happening? And for some reason, this keeps going through my head. There were only 8 people on the ark. Only 8. What does that mean? And when John D was talking to the Enochian angels and he got the Enochian language, he asked how many souls were on earth. And the angels told him the same number of souls that have always been on earth. What does that mean, guys? And I don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert at anything, but I know what I've seen and what I can touch and what I've heard and what I've felt. And I know my mother's instincts that, are within me. And there are certain things we've been told that are so far off base and so wrong. I don't know that we should keep procreating and just having children and having children and having children. I think that does something to the spirit. I know that certain people now are more like their parents. They I don't know how to explain that part yet. I'm still working on the vocabulary and the verbiage that I should use when explaining these events that I have seen take place. It's not the easiest task. Christ told us that we had to be born again, right? Have our sins blotted out. What does that blotted out mean? Forgotten. How do you forget your own sins if we are little g gods? All of these things, that they are clues, they are breadcrumbs. And there's a reason there's mystery schools, right? Because not everybody is ready for this information. Not everybody will do good with this information. Not everyone will receive it in the best ways. Like I said, there's a reason there's so many stories about people being beheaded. And most of the fear-based stories that are out there just simply are lies. The devil is a liar. And I think the lies are almost the worst things that are out there. And I know that I've been physically hurt, and I know that I've been in pain, and I'm sometimes still in a great deal of pain. But and I know I've left my body, but I've never went too far from it, and I've always went back into it. And I know this world is a whole lot different than we're told, and than I thought. And it's a humbling, it's definitely a humbling experience when you think how things are operating, and you're not, you're so far up base. So excuse me for the pop and not being super healthy lately, but like I said, I've just been a little exhausted. I'm going to switch gears again real quick. Solomon had and somebody might have to look it up for me. I said this prayer, and it was a prayer of Solomon's. Nova Ora. I said this prayer, and I thought that I did a video on it, a short video. And when you ask, you shall receive, and it asks for certain wisdom and for certain knowledge and answers about things. And some of the answers have come, and this is why I'm sharing that with you guys. But I want to share that with you. So I'm gonna do a video on that website. But again, some of it's pretty deep, and if you don't want certain answers, don't ask for them, because in this life, again, count the cost. I don't think everybody is ready for this information. Christ told us the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The Bible said that God came down from heaven and walked with Adam and Eve every evening. They did not dwell where God was, even when they had their light bodies. Lighter, right? They were at a lighter frequency, a higher frequency. They weren't as heavy or as low, right? So whatever happens, they weren't in the same domain as God. God came down and dwelled with them. That's important, guys. That's important to hold on to. God made them their domain. They were to dwell in the garden. That's where they were to be. And the garden was walked away from via a path, a trail, a narrow way, right into a place that was a little heavier and a little denser, which is earth, I would assume. So the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Eden is at hand. And I know that I've seen people. I saw 2 women at a yard sale at the end of summer that I took care of in the nursing home. Okay. And again, I always use reason and logic first. Okay. I saw them with my own eyes. They were at a yard sale. They got out of the car. This was 2 women who were both in wheelchairs, both had Alzheimer's. Okay. They both needed assistance with getting dressed, using the restroom, eating, all that stuff. Neither of them were in a wheelchair. They both were walking. They both interacted with the environment. They touched things. They picked things up, and they spoke with people at the yard sale. I was too astonished to even say anything to them, but they were there, and I could see them, and they looked at me. They didn't say anything to me, and I was too shocked to say anything to them at the time. If it happens again, I'm definitely going to go up to somebody. But it wasn't the first time that this happened to me, and I'm sure it won't be the last. But and I guys, I'll tell you about. I'll do a video on just that. But so yeah, there's so much more happening here than we're aware of, and it bothers me when people say, "Well, this place is horrible. I hate it here." You only feel that way because you are allowing yourself to be swayed and your mind to be governed by certain elements that are here. Stop dwelling in the heavy, lower vibrating frequency of the negative, of the child harming, of the abuse, of the wrong, of the negative. Shut it off. Don't watch, don't listen. Just shut it off. Seriously. That doesn't mean that there is no evil, or that if you see evil happening, not to intervene. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be a part of your world. You don't have to let it in. Okay? Just shut it off. I watched a YouTube stalk someone with a Freemasonic compass and square bumper sticker on their parked car. Felt one step away from physical violence. And see, that bothers me too. Let me talk about something having to do with that real quick. They tell you also, like, ooh, one-eyed symbolism, that's evil, evil, evil. And this bothers me too. Nobody reads their Bible. Does nobody read their Bible? What's the verse in the Bible tell us? Let thine eye be single and full of light. That's a Bible verse. It's a Bible verse. It's a Bible verse. You're listening to the wrong people. Those are the wrong people. Let thine eye be single and full of light. That's a Bible verse. So either the Bible is evil to you, or it's all evil. Pick one, guys. Pick one. Either the Bible is evil, and the Bible is Illuminati, the Bible is Freemasonic, or that YouTuber saying all that stuff is evil, or they're all on the same side and it's all evil. Or we've gone so far with it all now at this point that we don't know. And I'm with that. I say we start over. It's time to start over and decide for ourselves what we think about everything. Stop letting other people tell us what's evil and good, and decide for ourselves through our own walks, our own talks, our own experiences, our own ears, and our own eyes. Stop letting somebody else frame everything as good or bad for us, and decide with our own hearts what's good or bad. And that's what I'm saying. Stop it. Stop watching stuff like that. And they tell you Freemasonry is evil. Why? Why is it evil? Do you know that? Do you know that? Well, they say they do this. Have you seen it? Well, no. Do you know they abuse children? How do you know? Well, everyone says they do. But have you seen it? Well, no. Do you have any evidence? No. Do you have any proof? No. Do you know they run the world? No. They say they do. Well, do you have any proof? No. Well, then you know what you're doing, right? You're false witnessing, and in the Bible that says that's wrong. Do not falsely accuse your brethren. And do not gossip. We're told not to gossip. That's harmful to people and their spirits. Do you want people gossiping about you and saying that you're evil? No. Well, then why are you doing that about another group? Do you want to be called evil just because of the color of your skin? You know what else is in the Bible? Compasses and lighthouses. It talks about, let me think. It's in my phone, the memes and stuff and the pictures with the lighthouses, but it talks at great length. There's a lot of verses, I think it's in Psalms, about lighthouses, okay, and compasses. Those are biblical, guys. Freemasonry seems to be a godly group. I am so tired of everyone making assumptions and saying this is good, this is bad. We have to stop that. We have to stop consuming things like that because we don't know. We don't know. Every bit of information most of us have received in this place is secondhand. If we have not seen it with our own eyes, we really should stop believing it, unless it's God, because he who believes without sight is blessed, right? I believe without sight wholeheartedly that resurrection is possible, that the body can and will rejuvenate if we let it, if we just don't freaking bury it in the ground. Right on. I don't want people talking about me that don't know me. I don't want people saying that just because I have white skin, I'm evil, or saying, I'm a white devil. That's hurtful to me. I've had people call me because I'm Italian, a greasy WOP without papers. That's ignorant. Like, that's not nice. I've had people because I'm short, say things about me, and because I'm a female, and it's colored my life. It has changed the way I've behaved because I've let it sway my behavior, and that's unfortunate. I believed the rumors about my own self, and that's a shame. And I'm just saying that, like, we've allowed all this stuff to, like, there's a lot of stuff in the Bible, guys, that is what we are told on these channels is of the Illuminati and Freemasonry. Like people just aren't realizing that. And it amazes me. I'm like, don't you realize that's in the Bible? And we have to either come to terms with the fact that the Bible is about a power struggle and it's not all godly in there. or again, we kind of got to start over for ourselves and stop letting other people dictate for us what is good and what is evil, because that's where we get into trouble. Why are we letting other people decide for us what is good and what is right and what is wrong? We are sovereign. No one else should decide for us what is right and what is wrong. Nobody else tells me what to do. Nobody, not even my husband. Um, I obey man's law only because, and I don't even like obey man's law because I don't know all of like this micromanaged BS. I just like, I don't go around trying to hurt people, right? Like common sense stuff. I'm not like breaking it. I'm not stealing people's property, not harming people, and I'm not trying to harm their property. So just common decency, right? I don't think again, it's this common sense stuff, and I see it's really harmful also to someone who is working on their spirit to go into some of these chats and these comment sections and see these debates. And I found some really interesting comments where I'm like, oh, there's a gem. There's something I needed to see because it's led me to so many revelations. But some of it I'm like, oh my gosh, these people just don't even know what they're saying or doing anymore. And it's harmful. True, I get what you're saying. Thank you. Thank you. But again, it's just shameful that uh people claim to be a Bible believer or this spiritually driven person, and they're not understanding what that even means. And people aren't understanding that your vessel has a lot to do with your growth, and your vessel has a lot to do with you. And like the people also who say like ego has to be removed, you can't do that. All ego is the Latin word for self, right? And you can't totally remove self because you have to work on self and you have to serve others if you want to be a spirit driven person and you want to be a person who spiritually evolves. You need to first serve others. Once you are used to serving others, then you can learn how to maybe teach others, right? And then maybe others can serve you only because you're busy teaching others. You can't do certain things for yourself. Like it's this whole give and take, push and pull thing that's happening here, and that's where you get into natural law and law of resistance and entropy and all these things that happen. um and again, death isn't, it's not, know how to say this, you know the ritual is not the event itself, but we go through these rituals, these funerals and these things, and we put a capstone on it, and we think that like that's over, right? And we walk away, and it leaves our mind, and we don't realize that just because we turn the page, that story's not over. I'm still learning the proper vocabulary to use. I apologize. Cycle. Yes, everything here is cyclical. Absolutely. Um, and I think most of what we're dealing with, fear is a powerful motivator, right? If I wouldn't have been scared at a certain point, if I would not have been scared straight, if I wouldn't have been scared straight, I would have never, what am I trying to say? If I would not have been scared straight, I would have never have looked at myself and said, "Holy cow, all this time I've been worried about everybody else, and I should have been working on myself. See, that's what people don't realize is like, I'm serving this person. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. If you're so busy serving everyone else that you're not working on self, then again, you're losing. It's a losing battle. It has to be a proper balance in this place. You have to maintain that balance, right? So you cannot work on self. You can't work on self and forget to serve. And at the same time, that doesn't mean work on your outer self and forget the inner self, right? And that doesn't mean work on the vanity and forget the health. Like it's all of these things, right? And that can be difficult. That it's not easy. The good thing is that we got nothing but time. um time 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 is an illusion. Time's a big part of this illusion. When I think back to like some of the tricks that have been played on me in this place, like now I can laugh about it because I'm like, oh, I've witnessed beings, and I got to be real careful about how I say this. I've witnessed beings referring to our vessels, our physical beings, as containers. Um, because it's the trickster ones, they will use these containers um to almost some people call them what do they call them? Portals to bounce in and out of, right? Um which is, it doesn't really matter which word you use, but they will refer to them as containers, and they play almost hide and go seek behind the eyes of these containers, um, to test us, right? And to push and pull us into certain situations to see if we're ready to pass a certain test. This is why sometimes you'll experience the same event over and over and over again in your life to see if you're ready to overcome it yet. And you're like, oh my God, gosh, why does this keep happening to me? It's to see if you're still insane, right? What's the definition of insanity? You keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It's to see if you're ready to try something new yet, to see if you're going to say, okay, there's something wrong with me because obviously I keep experiencing this because I need to work on the way I'm handling this situation. Okay? And not everybody, you know, the most difficult thing in the world is to actually admit and then apply, I need to change. I need to, myself needs to change. And then to do that, to apply that to, yourself and to change. Message retracted. Oh, sorry. Um, but yeah, in it's almost a game for me now, like trying to recognize certain beings because again I almost recognize when these situations are occurring now, and I'm like, uh-oh, here comes a test. I see what's happening. I'm getting maneuvered into a situation, like what's going on here, um but yeah, so your spirit, your mind, your body, reincarnation and death, those definitions aren't exactly as we've been told. But the good news is that the only things that are permanent or forever or eternal, we ourselves are eternal. That's good. And love. Love is not an emotion because anger, that's not eternal, right? No. Joy, is that eternal? I think joy actually is eternal because joy hides, right? But it's always kind of there. Um, but emotions, anger and fear and all that stuff, that's not really eternal. But love is eternal because you can you feel that. And a woman knows this, right? Because a woman, you know your children. If it's not your child in that vessel, you'll know. You'll know. And that's what they mean when they say reset. They're not talking about money. They're not talking, I mean, they might change certain things, but that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about resetting people, playing musical chairs with the spirits and the bodies and all these things because it's time to put people in different places with different people to see if they're going to pass these tests over again, maybe with different situations and different groups of people, because I guess some of us failed. I know I did. I failed. And I'm paying for that now. I'm not with the one that I wanted to be with. And well, like I said, I'm living with that now. And it's hard, but it is what it is. And we all have regrets. And so I'm trying to make amends and um, hopefully do things different now and share what I've learned with those who are ready to do things differently and those who are ready to see through the illusion. And I'll tell you again, it's funny once you start seeing certain things. Like I can look now and I can recognize the fact that most things around me are like setups. Most of them are. And again, I don't know what's happening now that like I can see most of this. Um, but maybe most of us are ready or most people are ready to graduate. I don't really know. I know I feel like Truman. And we'll get into the Jim Carrey phenomenon. We're going to talk about that in the next live, I think. That's a really fun topic. I love that topic because it is my life. But the Jim Carrey topic is so fun. But I do believe that we all have a soul mate. Like I do believe that we're made like that. We're not made to be solo, at least not forever. Not eternally. But there's some reason that so many of us are seeing past these things now. And I recognize people now like playing multiple roles and parts and maybe that's my penance. Maybe that's part of my penance is I have to live through this now knowing like, oh, hey, do I have to watch if other people get tested now that I, failed and now I know, most of this is like a charade. Um I don't know. I don't know. But I just know I want to help other people, overcome their obstacles and, understand that if you keep running into the same thing, it's so that you can pass. It's so that you can move past that level that you're currently on and overcome. But we'll talk more. I'm going to run now. And hopefully, I think the next live will probably be, like I said, about like the Jim Carrey topic, because that gets into how there isn't how each area is like micromanaged and there isn't as many real people as we think there are, and how for all intents and purposes each area has its own little show happening. But we'll talk more about that next time. And if you have any suggestions or questions, please do post them in the comments below. It was so nice to go live again. um, I'm alive. We're all alive eternally, and that should be the best news ever. That is the good news, is the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And once we overcome a lot of things, we can walk right in. I'm pretty sure we can go into the gates. But again, a lot of people kind of just like hanging out here. And I think it's freedom of choice. I think it's consent. Once we're ready to go there, we go there. But it's all up to the individual. But we'll talk soon. I love you guys. And bye.